Hello, family. How are you? I hope we are being blessed. So, today I'm going to talk about spiritual sonship. Yes, there are so many topics that have been covered on the areas of spiritual fathers, spiritual mentors, spiritual parents, and we have so much information concerning our spiritual leaders, but we don't know what we are supposed to do as spiritual daughters and spiritual sons in order for us to benefit from our spiritual parents. So it's a topic that I know you are going to benefit if you are one who understands this topic about spiritual parents and spiritual sons, spiritual daughters. So before I go any further, I just want to help you on one thing, that this topic has been fought for so many years by people who also practice spiritual parentship or sonship. But because us as children of God, if we do it, then it looks like we are doing something that they don't know or something they don't do. But I tell you, those people in the world, those people who are attacking us, they are also practicing the same thing that I'm going to be talking about. So the problem that is happening right now is us as children of God. We are letting those people preach into our lives. We are letting them teach how we should practice our spiritual fatherhood, sonship, or whatever I'm going to be talking about. So much that we now have the information that they have taught us. We no longer have the information that the Lord has said about this topic, so that people are rebelling. They don't want to have a father, a spiritual father in their lives. They don't want to have a spiritual mentor in their lives. They don't even want to become a spiritual daughter or spiritual son of anybody. At which this one will deprive us of benefits that was already given to us as children of God. So I'm just going to do my best to cover if time allows me. But before I go any further, I just want you to let you know that the things that they have been telling us not to do, they are also doing that. I want you to go, for instance, to the situation of Moses and Aaron. Yes, Aaron was more like a spiritual son to Moses. Yes, he was a brother before Moses was anointed. He was a brother before Moses was called by God to lead Israel out of Egypt. But the moment he became Moses, the Moses that we knew, the Moses that God gave the power, then Aaron automatically became a son to Moses. So when he came, he knew his assignment. He knew the person that he was going to work with. He automatically knew that he is no longer my brother, he is now my father. Things can change like that in the spiritual world. So when he came, he knew that he's going to save Moses as his father. So that's when their first assignment, they were told to go. Let us just go together to the word of God and see their first assignment, because it was given to Moses to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt, but Aaron was also involved as a son. I just want you to take it as it is, that Aaron was now a son. So when you are now called to be a son and you now know what to do, the moment you submit, we are talking about submission. The last time I came, I spoke about this in my native language. We spoke about submission, and I was talking about submission in marriage, relationship, and everything. And I promise that I'm going to come back and keep on talking about submission. And now we are talking about submission as a spiritual son, so that we benefit from our spiritual parents. Because when God gives, I'm coming back to Moses and Aaron. When God wants to give you or blesses you or give you things that you've been praying for, what he does is he look for a Moses, either in your family or in your nation, and he blesses that person. He delivers everything. Almost 90% of things that you've been praying for, he delivers them to Moses. Any Moses in your generation. And here I'm just using the word Moses so that you understand where I'm going. But there is always a Moses of your generation. It might be a man or a woman of God in your life. So what he does is he delivers the message to that person. He delivers your goods to that person, so that out of submission, you then get access to the things that were given to that woman or to that man. That's where submission comes. So this is a history that has been going on for years. And because people, they don't want to submit, they are being deprived of their things, their promises that came through other people. They want their things to come straight to them, direct from God to them. And usually God doesn't work like that. Just like what happened to the Israelites when they were crying for help, they wanted God to bring them out of this torture. What he did is he visited Moses. And Moses was no longer in Egypt, was out of the country. He was also doing other things there, but he chose not to come to Egypt where the Israelites were, where the cry was. The cry was coming from Egypt, but God chose to go for a man who was not in Egypt, who was somewhere else. And he passed Egypt, passed the cry, passed the demand, and went straight to look for the men and delivered their deliverance to the men. So it is now the process of you receiving that man. By receiving that man, it means you have received your passports to come out of Egypt. By denying the man, that means you denied your access to go out of Egypt. So that's where the spiritual sonship parenthood comes. And also the issue of submission comes. Because you have to know that the man now who is now coming is no longer the Moses that left years ago. The man who ran away, the man who killed, the man who did all sorts of things. It is now at our deliverance that is coming. So this thing was known by Aaron. And before I talk about Aaron, I just want to give you an example of what I've just said. Remember when the children when Jesus was ministering, there were people who were always following Jesus. And it happened that they followed Jesus, and when they were out of the city, they were in the wilderness. And Jesus saw that people were hungry, and he had to feed. He knew that they had to eat. I had to provide something, but I cannot do it without a Moses around. Not because God cannot, but it's a protocol, it's a system. It's a principle that even as God, I cannot bring Jesus direct from heaven. You see Jesus falling from heaven. It doesn't work like that. There has to be a somebody. There has to be a Mary somewhere. I have to go and speak to Mary and deliver your Christ to Mary. And let Mary carry the Christ for you, the Christ Jesus. That's how these things works. So it happened that Jesus wanted to feed these children. And he turned to the Moses of the time. He had the Moses, he had them, the disciples. And he spoke to the disciples that we need to feed the people. So you need to be involved in this. It has to be you. If people has to thank me, they have to thank you as well. We have to work together here. I have to make you the source of their food today. But unfortunately, by then, the disciples were not able to understand this type of language. So they said what they said. I'll come back to this, but I want you to know this. There's one who then came out and say, we have found a boy who has got 2 fish and 5 loaves. And when Jesus saw that we have these things that we need, we have the promises, we have the resources, we have the provision that is needed by the people, but it is not in the right hands. It has to be in the hands of the disciples, not in the hands of this boy. I don't know if you are understanding what I'm talking about. It has to be Moses carrying the 2 fish and 5 loaves, not in the hands of this young boy. So Jesus had to take the fish from the boy because he was not walking with the boy. He just saw the boy for the first time here. Yet the ones who were supposed to provide these 2 fish, 5 loaves were these ones that he has been walking with, that he has been teaching for years, that he has been, these were his spiritual disciples, the spiritual children. So it had to come from them. So he took the bread from the boy. He blessed, not because he wanted it to multiply, though the multiplication automatically happened. He blessed because he didn't know where this bread was coming from. We don't know who cooked this, who made this fish, who caught the fish, by whose grace, whose father. So we have to take it and we bless and we give it to the disciples to distribute. That's the process. So why am I saying this? There are so many people out there who says, these men of God, like the disciples, let's say are the men of God, whereby God is saying, take your 2 fish, 5 loaves and give it to them. There are people who don't want that. They say this one is robbery. These people should learn to work. They forgot that these people were fishers. They had their own businesses. They're not coming here to eat your fish, to dine from your fish. If you don't give them the 2 fish, they were ready to go to the city to buy. They know where to get. But because the Lord wanted to demonstrate something to the people around, people who were sitting there, that even if this child has the 2 fish and 5 loaves, I cannot take the 2 fish, 5 loaves, bless and give it back to the 5,000 without involving your spiritual parents, without involving the disciples. There has to be part of this thing. So he took the bread, he blessed and gave them. And when he gave them, the disciples, then they came and gave the fish back to the boy. So what I'm saying here is, let's say this boy is those people who say we already have. We have the money that you want. I have the money. So if I want to help the needy, I go straight to the need and help them. Why should I give the church? Why should I give the men of God? Why should I take my money to church when I know where the needy are? I will just go straight, take my money straight and go and give the poor. Take my money straight and give to the blind and those who are in need of this. The Lord is saying, young boy, you cannot do that without these ones. You have to bring your seed, your money, your help here, so that we bless here. This is the protocol. This is how it happens, how it is done. Your money has to be blessed first before it goes. And your money has to be multiplied Because if it goes there, there's no multiplication, there's no blessing that will happen without these men. So you have to bring it here. We bless, and after blessing, we give them and they give back to you. It will automatically come. And the way it comes, it will come and feed so many of those people that you want to help. We are in the business of multiplying. We are in the business of blessing that you call money, or whatever you call it that you want to give straight. So it's a principle that is being understood by those who understand spiritual parenthood that I'm going to be talking about here. So this is exactly what happened, and Aaron had the call and they went there and sit under Moses. And the time came where they were supposed to go now and start the ministry. So I want you to see, I'm not going to read what I'm going to be talking about. I will read later. But I want you to know what Aaron eventually was able to do, things that he was not able to do before he came to Moses. He was not a prophet. He had no ability of doing anything spiritual before he came to Moses. But the moment he came to sit under Moses, he got the ability of doing things that he never thought he could do. I'm telling you. So now we want to read. Go to Exodus 6:7, verse 8. I want you to see what Aaron's staff was now able to do. Things that you already have, the money that you already have, that he thought would do things straight, but because he knew what to do. The business that he thought he had, you have things that you thought you have that has value. By then it was just an ordinary stick, it was just an ordinary stuff that Aaron had. But the moment he came to sit under Moses, it becomes a something that had value. So this is what happened. Let's go to Exodus 7 verse 8. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, when Pharaoh says to you, perform a miracle, then say to Aaron, it is not you who is going to do this. It is your son. It is your daughter who is going to perform miracles. So I want you to see I'm now talking on behalf of spiritual children, spiritual daughters and spiritual sons, that the things that we are praying for, that we need, we are praying for power. We are praying for the grace. We want the power from God. We want our men of God to touch us, to anoint us, to do all those things. But we don't know how it is done. To a point that when it is being done, sometimes we are not even aware. And we are not even taking it as it is. We keep on searching for it, yet it is right in front of us. So as a spiritual son, you should know that the first thing that you have to do is to submit to a man who is anointed, to submit to a man who has what you want. It was Moses who had this grace. It was Moses who had an encounter with the Lord, who saw the fire, who talked with God, who had everything, the experiences that he did, that he had when he was there in the mountain. Aaron was not there. He is the one who suffered. He had the what do you call this? What do you call this?